Okay, next we're going to focus on graphing a little bit more. So when we're graphing something like this, we've already talked about that when the line is present there, it means or equal to. So when we graph that number right there, we need either a close circle or a bracket. Okay, so again, when it has the line underneath, it means or equal to. You're going to use a solid circle or brackets. Okay, so now as far as after we know what goes here, we have to figure out what side to shade. So we have to either think of what numbers are greater than or equal to -2, which would be all of these numbers over here. Or there is a little trick that works. When choosing what side of the graph to shade, you can follow the direction of the arrow when the variable is first. So you can follow the arrow, and when I say arrow, you're using the inequality symbol when the variable is first. So the variable has to be first to follow the arrow. Where you shade, remember, are the numbers that can replace the variable. So the best way to do this is for you to be able to read these and know, shade all the numbers. The Pac-Man is going towards the X, so shade all the numbers that are larger, shade this side. However, there is this trick here that works, that if you draw a line like this down and make it like a little triangle like that, and then put a little line there, think of it like an arrow, it's pointing this way. So it's saying shade to the right here. So again, this is a cool little trick, but you want to know how to read these so you know what they're saying. They're saying all the numbers that are larger than or equal to -2. So now to write this as in interval notation, like we previously in the last video discussed, we always go from the left to the right. Okay, so here we have 5. Now in my class, I'm okay with you just putting this number on the number line. If you want to put more numbers like this, you can, but that's up to you. Then we're going to put a circle here, and then this says shade all the numbers that are less than 5. So that would be this side. Now if we want to use the arrow, put a line here, and you can see it's saying go to the right. So again, we're taking this inequality. I'm going to rewrite it so it's bigger so you can see again. And we're making this into an arrow like that. And it's telling us, because the X is first, that this is the side that we're shading. So now to write our interval notation, we go from the left to the right. So it's going infinitely to the left side, so we put -infinity because the negatives will be on the left side. And then it stops here at 5, and 5 is not included. So a parenthesis is always around infinity and always around when the number is not included. Now when you're graphing these, you can put the parenthesis there, and if we go back to this one, a bracket there. So you don't have to have both, one or the other. Okay, so now here, put our 6. The line is underneath, so it means or equal to, so 6 is included. And now this is saying 6 is greater than or equal to all the other numbers. So where are all the other numbers that 6 is greater than or equal to? Now if that's confusing, another tip I have for you is to rewrite it so the X is first, and then the 6 is after, and so you can see the little tip of the arrows going to the X. So I just rewrote it so it's exactly the same. And now this, people can sometimes have an easier time reading that this is saying X is less than or equal to 6. So if you're going to use this arrow right here, since this inequality sign goes like this, if you make this into an arrow, if the X isn't first, you can't go the direction of the arrow. You have to go backwards. So you have to go this way instead. Now if you rewrote it so the X is first like I did, as you can see, it is going in the direction of the arrow when the x is first. So again, this is just saying 6 is greater than or equal to all the other numbers. So 6 is greater than all these numbers over here. So now if we go left to right, it's going infinitely to the left, so we put negative infinity, parentheses always around infinity, and then 6 has a bracket because the 6 is included because it has the or equal to. Okay, now this one here, when you have the x and it's in between like this, it just means that all the numbers in between 4 and 7. So because the 4 doesn't have a line underneath next to it, it's going to be an open circle. And because the 7 has the line underneath, it's going to be a closed circle. So when the x, I call it like sandwiched in between like that, it means that we're shading just what's in between. So 4, not included, to 7. Everything in between, including 7. So we put our parenthesis and bracket there. So if we look at this, it makes sense. This is saying x, and if we follow the arrow, it's saying go left of 7. And then this is saying go right of 4. So it's just what's in between. Okay, so you can go ahead and pause the video if you want and try 12, 13, and 14. And then when you're done, go ahead and push play and you can check in and see if you did it correctly or keep watching the video here. Alright, so to graph this, we're going to have our negative 4 here. Has the line underneath, so we need a bracket. And this is saying shade all the numbers that are greater than, so these numbers here are greater than or equal to negative 4. Now if you like the little arrow trick, since this symbol goes like this, if I connect this and I make it into an arrow, it's saying go right, and I did shade the right. Now interval, we go from the left to the right, so from negative 4 including negative 4 and everything bigger, and we always put parentheses around infinity. Okay, now let's go ahead and graph this one. So it doesn't have the line underneath, so it's going to be an open circle or a bracket, or parenthesis, so open circle or parenthesis, whereas this one was a solid or a bracket because it had the line underneath. And then this is saying x is greater, so the side I'm shading is the side where they're greater, which is this side right here. Now if you're going to use the arrow, remember, because the x was not first, you can't go to the left and follow the arrow, you have to go to the right. So this is the side that should be shaded. Now again, another way you can do these problems is think about a number. If this is Pac-Man, it wants to eat what's more, so like 5 could go there for x. And you need to make sure the side is shaded where those numbers are that can be x. So again, you have the little arrow trick to know what side to shade. You could just read it or replace the x with a number that makes sense, and that's the side that should be shaded. Now if we go from the left to the right, from negative 2 and everything larger. Okay, and then lastly it says circle all the possible solutions. So solutions are just all the numbers that are shaded for this inequality here. So if we look, 3 is not shaded right here. So no. 9, yep, it's shaded right here. So 9, yes. 5, it is not included because it's an open circle. 15 would be somewhere over here, and it keeps going and going and going here, so yes. And then negative 6, no, it's over here in the unshaded part, so no. And 8.5 is right here in the shaded area, so yes.